Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Jason Mackey's First 10, a short version podcast talking all things Pittsburgh sports. Today is Monday, January 13th, and it's an ugly one. We're going to talk about that Steelers ugly loss to the Ravens. The season has ended. All of those questions now are set to begin. We're going to talk about the defense, where I think the Steelers need to focus efforts there. There are certainly a lot of questions about the offense, what to do with Russell Wilson at running back, George Pickens. The biggest topic, of course, Mike Tomlin reportedly coming back. Steelers aren't prepared to make a move there. Going to get into a bunch of that. But first, want to remind you this show is brought to you by Edgar Snyder and Associates. If you're injured in an accident, you're probably wondering what's next. For over 40 years, Edgar Snyder and Associates has helped injury victims answer that question. Whether it's gathering evidence, collecting medical records, or dealing with insurance companies, Edgar Snyder and Associates has helped over 75,000 people handle what's next. Call 1-800-94-EDGAR or visit edgarsnyder.com for a free consultation. And remember, there's never a fee unless they get money for you. My thesis on the Tomlin stuff, or the way I look at it right now, is I don't understand, but I understand. I understand where the Rooneys are coming from when it comes to continuity. I do. I think a lot of it is respectable. I think a lot of it is why the Steelers are what they are and why people look at the Steelers the way that they are. At the same time, I think it's also why people are at their wits' end about this Tomlin stuff, because it feels like the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I don't understand why they can't see what we all can see on the outside. Some of the numbers, some of the factoids attached to Tomlin's recent failures and the Steelers' failures in the playoffs, you want to just sort of throw your hands up in the air and wonder what the heck is going on. They've lost 6 playoff games in a row. They're one and done for the 8th time. Playoff drought at 8 years. Tomlin is one shy of Marty Schottenheimer's record for one and dones in the postseason. Keep going here. It's the first time a Tomlin coach team has ended the year with 5 consecutive losses. They failed to score 17 or more points in any of those games, or failed to score more than 17 points in any of those games. First time since 1969 that has happened. Okay, let's look at the Baltimore game. You expect how are the Steelers are going to come out in the playoffs? They talked a lot about, the regular season has ended. It's a new season. It's the single elimination tournament. It's a division foe. All this stuff that should be pointing in the favor of having a good performance. Flatline. The first half, they couldn't stop the run. Overall, they give up a franchise record, 299 rushing yards. I believe first downs in the first half were something like 19-2. If you thought the Derrick Henry performance or stopping him the last time out was bad, what happened on Saturday? It was partly scheme. They just kept running the ball. They kept running zone reads. Steelers couldn't stop it. And to Todd Monken's credit, to John Harbaugh's credit, they didn't deviate. I used in my column a reference to Remember the Titans, and it felt that way. Like, you're not doing anything that advanced. You're lining up across from another team and running something that they cannot stop. But from a Steelers perspective, why can't you stop this? Is it defensive scheme? Is it desire? Is it readiness? We don't know. That's the magical answer. It's probably a little bit of all of the above. But it's just crazy, the evidence that is accumulating. First quarter of the last 5 playoff games, they've been outscored 63-0. Isn't that the definition of not having your team ready to play? In those games, they're allowing an average of 38.8 points per game. What are we doing here? What are we clinging to? I don't know how you can look at this and not be concerned. Reminds me of a couple years ago. I think this was 2019, my first year on the Pirates beat, and I'm looking around and I'm seeing an empty PNC Park. And I tweeted a video of it and said, if you're Pirates management, how can this not concern you? And not that that's the reason that Bob Nutting cleaned house, but I mean, saw it. You have to see it. Why are they not seeing this here? Let's extend out a little bit further. Look at the calendar. In 5 of the past 7 years, the Steelers have lost at least 3 games in December. How are you not seeing that? You're not finishing seasons well at all. And if Art Rooney, and I like Art Rooney, personally, or the job they've done for the Steelers, like, it's not an indictment of Art Rooney, but how can you take him seriously if he goes in a conference room in front of members of the media and says, this is what I want to see? You said, I want to see playoff wins. You didn't get a playoff win. The season wasn't any different than last. wasn't any different than 5 of the past 7 years, or the past 6, going back to 2016. Again, there's a whole bunch of numbers and factoids that you can pull on this. The Texans have won 3 playoff games in the past 14 years. The Steelers have won 3 playoff games in the past 14 years, half as many as the Houston Texans. Again, in preparing for First 10 and researching this and getting my legs under me, like, I have a whole file of things that talk about how poor Tomlin has been over the last little while. It's pretty easy to find evidence. Why not do something about it? Why tolerate this? I don't understand it. I think Mike Tomlin's a very good football coach. I think he'll have a job in 5 minutes. I don't think that's a problem. But I do think every scenario runs its course. And I don't understand why we're sticking to this for the sake of continuity or whatever. I think you can look around the NFL and see that the rest of the league and the way the Steelers are doing things is not working. So change it. All right, I want to get into more thoughts there, specifically with quarterbacks, other offenses, as well as what I think the Steelers should be looking at on defense here as the offseason approaches. But first, the message from the Bradenton Area Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Embrace the laid-back charm of island life while sinking your toes in the sand and discovering real, authentic Florida in the Bradenton area. Unspoiled beauty and pristine beaches, a vibrant waterfront downtown energized by local arts and culture, fresh Floridian cuisine with a flourish of rich history, and friendly locals ready to welcome you to this preserved paradise on Florida's Gulf Coast. Plan your visit today at BradentonGulfIslands.com.
Welcome back to First 10. We're here middle of the morning, Monday through Friday. Thank you for finding us. But if you watched any of the NFL playoff games this weekend, I found it interesting, the strand of talent, if you want to call it that, the teams have under center. I'm going to go down a list of the quarterbacks still standing in the NFL and see if you can sort of pick out some things that we see there. Jaden Daniels with the Commanders, Jalen Hurts with the Eagles, Jared Goff with the Lions, Matthew Stafford with the Rams, Sam Darnold with the Vikings. Those two, of course, meet tonight. Josh Allen with the Bills, Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs, CJ Stroud with the Texans, Lamar Jackson of the Ravens. Some pretty good names there, isn't there? Pair of 2-time NFL MVPs, Rookie of the Year, the guy who could win the MVP this year, and that's just in the AFC, by the way. Not that CJ Stroud has had the best season. He's actually regressed a little bit, I think, as a sophomore in the NFL. But elite quarterback play, right? Another thing, elite mobility, the ability also to get the ball into the hands of playmakers and running a much more dynamic offense, throwing over the middle in a lot of cases. I think Jared Goff and the Lions do a fantastic job of that. Elite running games. There's a bunch of stuff in that conversation that these teams have that the Steelers do not. And they have a big decision. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, we'll talk about it a little bit today and more in the days and weeks ahead, I'm sure. Russell Wilson isn't getting it done for me. I'm sorry. At 10-3, I thought there was something there. I thought there was enough there. And maybe at a bargain rate, I would take him. I'm not overextending myself. And it makes me think even more about Justin Fields when you talk about quarterback mobility and what I think it takes to succeed. I'm not convinced there's enough in the passing realm to keep Justin Fields and have success. I hope I'm wrong about that. I hope they can do enough to fix him that, I think we saw signs in the 4-2 start. I don't think getting the ball there was the problem for Justin Fields. I think getting it to the right guy and doing it consistently enough was the problem. But you can always go to Fields for a much cheaper rate, pay some other people. You need to do that. They're going to have a lot of other decisions and ways to move money around. But I'm not convinced that it's the right move to throw $30 million or whatever at a 36-year-old. I'm just not. And I understand that was the plan at the beginning. You bring Russell Wilson in, you want to extend him. It doesn't have to be the plan now. You can move off of it. You're tethered to nothing at this point if you're the Steelers. I don't love the draft for a way to find a quarterback, but if you commit to Justin Fields for a year, it may be a way to kick the can down the road to next year's class. Maybe that's better, and I think it probably will be. At the same time, you look and see what Justin Fields has. You could bring somebody else in just, as a stopgap, emergency, Band-Aid quarterback. I think that's completely reasonable. You're not committing yourself to a bunch of years. I think you could tell Fields, hey, here's 2 years, whatever million, here's your opportunity to be a starter. I think that would, in a system that he's familiar with, make a lot of sense. And then if it goes south, well, what preceded all these years of losing, right? Or all these years of winning, a losing season? Get Ben Roethlisberger and you're in a better position. So I'm tempted. It depends on what the number is with Russell Wilson. Again, if he wants to play for a cheaper deal, maybe you package the two of them. Maybe you still commit to Russ and you're able to improve things around him, and then that makes sense. But if the number's $30 million, I can't go there. All right, let's finish up talking a little defense here. They have some decisions to make. I have a column right now on postgazette.com looking at the defense and how it can't be ignored. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about. Probably won't get into Najee or Pickens or Jaylen Warren and some other decisions on the offense. We can save those for later in the week. But defense, there's a lot of questions there too. Probably a sneaky amount of questions. TJ Watt's the biggest one, the decision we're going to circle the most. He's going into the final year of his 4-year extension. I hear sort of whispers and talks and theories posited about, does it make sense to trade TJ? I can understand the argument, but come on. To me, you have a player like that, you keep him here. They're going to find a way to get it done. That's a nuclear option that we're seeing the Steelers avoid the nuclear option at all costs. The nuclear option would be to fire Mike Tomlin, and they're not going to do that. So I don't see why they would trade TJ Watt. Anyway, let's move on to something else that I think is more reasonable, possibly more impactful, at least in terms of the negative side of not having it and what I think it did to the defense, the secondary. This is low-key a very important part of the offseason. Joey Porter Jr. kind of regressed as a sophomore. We saw that. I keep using the term sophomore. I'm not sure why, but I like it for NFL parlance. Anyway, Donte Jackson started out really good, I thought, and did not finish well. You saw how badly he was beaten on that first touchdown by Rashad Bateman in Baltimore, and just, I don't think, did enough to give them much. I mean, if he's going to be a depth option, fine, but they need to upgrade that position in a big way. I found it crazy that Corey Trice Jr. was covering Jamar Chase one week and then he was inactive the next. I understand why the Steelers did it, but he can't be your best available next option. James Pierre and Cam Sutton can't be your best available next options. They need to spend some money, do some stuff there in the draft, whatever, upgrade that position. Safety-wise, another conversation topic has been Minkah Fitzpatrick. And I'm on the camp of try to find somewhere else, try to find another solution there. I don't think they're getting what they're paying for, $22 million. I don't think Minkah's a bad player. He made the Pro Bowl, for crying out loud. I'm not going to sit here and criticize the work he's done, but I think it's incongruent with what they're paying him. You can get somebody else to do that job for less money. And I would be surprised if they didn't entertain that. $22.4 million next year. That's theoretically the cap hit he will carry. Had one pick and forced a fumble. It's just not enough. It's not enough splash, in my opinion. Some easier decisions there in the column. Preston Smith, Larry Ogunjobi, that sort of stuff. But they have to revisit what they're doing on defense. The NFL's highest paid unit did not perform up to its capabilities. Thanks so much for watching. Went over a few minutes. Hopefully you don't mind. We'll be back here tomorrow, probably talking Steelers. I'm heading down to the South Side to do locker clean out and write a column off of there. I'll have plenty of reaction and stuff from there tomorrow morning. Thanks for watching First 10, everybody.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.